Hey guys, so today I want to talk about grief and loss. Now you may want to ask, who is she to tell us about grief and loss? Well, I am a nobody, but I know a thing or two about grief and loss because I recently just lost both my parents. I won't get to the reason why they passed, but I will tell you that I lost both of them within a week. So let's um, let's talk about grief. It is not easy. There are times where, just like anything in life, right? It's life, and you kind of have your moments here and there. You have some happy moments and sad moments, especially if you are with a family of your own and you lost your parents. And I have to do the disclaimer that I was never I'm not I don't want to say I'm not too close with them, or I am separated from them or anything like that. Okay, first of all, we live thousands of miles away, right? So my parents, they live in other parts of the world, and I live in a whole different, another world. I left them when I was 16 years old, almost 17, to have a better life, I guess, right? And they sent me here, but they never wanted to come here. It was never like any other immigrant story that you hear. The whole family moved to some other country and to better their lives, to make a better life, right? We always had issues. I always for the longest time I was angry at my dad. It's simply because I just didn't think much of him. You guys, I want to be honest. This is one of these, because I'm putting it all out there, and not because now that they're dead, because I want you to listen to the whole entire story and how I get to the to this point. So I never really respected him as a parent, because I just didn't see him as responsible parent. He may have, sent us here, and even then it was little of his doing, if that makes sense. Because one of my relatives is, they pushed him to for us to come here. So yeah, in the beginning he didn't want to let us go, right? So in the end he decided that we can go, and that's a lot of issues. Okay, so this is just a video of even though this is the video about grief and loss, a lot of things that come into play, a lot of factors, how the relationship is and between two people, and how close they are, and how I think it all matters. So that's the reason why I'm talking about the history behind it, to build up to the point of how our relationship is. And so anyways, so I was very I was basically just separated from them since 17 years old. So but I always had I was I always have this perception of him that he is not a, a he wasn't a bad parent. He wasn't abusive or anything like that. Okay, let me just say that out front. But was he a type of parent that would do, that would provide financial security? We were never. We were poor. Okay, we were poor. And then I didn't see him working. And based on what I've heard from family members and people that live in the same household as him, they never really think much of him because of that simple fact that he doesn't work. He never really had a job since, he never really had a job, as far as I remember. And now that I'm thinking back, and I think I may have to fact check again from my family members, but as they get older, as they get older, and the people who actually grew up with him, as they get older, it's kind of hard for me to get the facts right, but I will try. But it doesn't matter anymore now. But I'm trying to tell you, trying to basically show you a picture, trying to paint a picture of how I saw him before. So it wasn't always easy, right? I was angry with him for not being able to, because he wasn't able to provide us with financial security, right? By financial security, I mean we were in a third world country, we were poor, and there are days I heard stories that there were days when I was little, there were days that we couldn't afford food and things like that. And all I remember, all the memory that I had of him was him gambling, and the gambling runs deep in my family, you guys. My uncle was a big time alcoholic slash gambler. I think most often time it goes hand in hand. So I came from a long line of complicated and complex family dynamic and family members. So with that said, the relationship with my father has never been an easy one. I mean, we had our, being a father that he was, a traditional, that is we never really. And also one of the thing is that he just that have personality, right? He never really talk about his feelings and things like that. So anyway, I was angry at him for the longest time. But and one thing I have to say though, even though he wasn't abusive to us, he kind of hit my mom here and there. He wasn't an alcoholic. He wasn't abusive to her in a sense that he beat her senseless. But I had seen him hit her, like slap her in the face, here and there. Not that often, but when he's angry. So he has a temper issue, right? So I'm not defending him, but that's just what I seen. Like I guess you could say, I don't know what the formal definition is. I guess he's borderline abusive. I don't know, but I had seen him slap my mom's face a few times here and there when we were young. But I don't think he does it as he get older. But I can be sure. Obviously, I was I wasn't living with them. But although he may not be physically abusive, there are things when we do call them, there are things that he say to her that is, I would never let my husband talk to me in that way, if that makes sense. So not really, slur or cursing, but just the tone of it, and basically looking down on her, the way he talks. So things like that, right? So that's my dad. Now, before I go too deep, let's talk about, before I go too long, let's talk about my mom. My mom, she had mental issues. By mental issues, I mean I'm not saying that she's mentally ill. She can function, but she is naive to a point that people sometimes call her behind her back that she's stupid. I know it's very hard to hear, and it was very hard for me to hear when I was young. And even though they might not tell her, I mean, my mother and my grandmother, my dad's mom, straight up called her stupid in front of her. So seeing all that, to me, at a young age, I had a really soft spot for her. I mean, to me, no matter how, simple a person is, how naive a person is, you should be kind to them, right? You should never be, oh, you stupid, you don't understand this. I mean, that's not how you, that's not how you talk to anybody, whether they are, it doesn't matter what they are. You should never talk to another person like that at all. So with that said, she has issues. Her mom, my mom, had her mom, basically my grandmother from my mom's side. She committed suicide when my mom was young, not a baby, I don't think. And then her father, my grandpa, he became this person who lives at the temple. For what reason, I do not know. So, and some people call him a weirdo because he lived at the temple. But, if your wife committed suicide and then you are left with 3 kids, I don't know, I wasn't there. So I can only assume that he had a hard time dealing with things. Or maybe he just, maybe he would act like that if he didn't lose his wife. I don't know. But that's my mom. She is very naive. She naive in a way that she's like a childlike, she has a childlike mindset, right? She doesn't really think much of things. She just say things as she pleases. Is that what defined her naive? A little bit, but most often than not, like the way she processes things and the way she thinks. First of all, she's not educated. At that time, nobody sent their daughters to school. Sadly, is the way of the world, I guess, and yeah, it's sad. So she never went to school. She probably went to like 3rd grade, and she doesn't know how to write. So she's not educated, formally educated, and she's not street smart either. So, and my mom is the second wife of my dad. So even then, my grandmother treated my mom horribly. Yeah, I mean, those are the things that I remember. And I was fairly young, probably in, I don't know, 3rd grade or 4th grade. Oh no, she passed when I was in 4th grade, I think. So it must have been like 2nd or 3rd grade that, you're starting to know a little bit. You're starting to be aware of how things are, and then these are the memories that I still remember to this day. She wasn't very nice to my mom, and I didn't like that. So at that very young age, I always had a soft spot for my mom. She doesn't know better, and I mean, I still have issues with my mom. Like, she will hide things from us, from her kids. Hide things. When I say hide things, I meant food. She will hide like dinner, like chicken, like good dinner. Like if she cooked chicken dinner or whatever, she will hide it in the back of but now that I think about it, I'm sorry, I had to retract that. I'm not sure if she was hiding it from us or from other people who live in the same household, because it was everybody was there, right? My cousin, A lot of my cousins live with us because they lost their parents. So it was, I don't know the reason why she hid them, but she hid the food. I don't think I should say that she hid the food from her kids, from us, but I do want to say that she hid the food. And me, being the rebel myself, I didn't care. I always, I always take the food and eat it. But it's not that when she found out she was upset or anything. So I don't think she was trying to hide from us. I don't know. I never asked her. So maybe, maybe not. So that's my mom. So when things like that, when I think about things like that, I try to justify it. That in a way, I try to justify that my mom doesn't know any better. That's my conclusion. So I forgive her, right? I feel sorry for her. I forgive her, and we have um, a good relationship. So then, right before they pass, and when I became a parent of my own, I started to think that how can you do those things, right? To my mom and dad. How can you not work? How can you just gamble? How can you just, hide food from your kids? How can you this? How can you that? So all of this just come about. Because as a parent, I never wanted to hide anything from my kids. I always want. I would rather starve myself. I would rather give my food to them, right? And I would